Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trep Talk. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Vladimir Gendelman to the show. Vladimir is the founder and CEO of Company Folders Incorporated. Company Folders is the ultimate presentation folders boutique, and they have the largest selection of options for folders available anywhere. And today I'm going to ask Vladimir a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So Vladimir, thank you so much for joining me today at Trep Talk. Really, really appreciate your time.
Sushant, thank you for having me on. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
So you know what, on this podcast, I get the opportunity to interview so many unique entrepreneurs with unique ideas and all different kinds of businesses that many times I wouldn't even think about start that there would be an opportunity there. And your business is one of those businesses. Would you describe it a very niche kind of a thing? I mean, you've really targeted on very specific product folders. So can you share a little bit about what really motivated you to start this business and why folders?
Yeah, actually, great question, and probably interesting story as well. So I immigrated to America from Soviet Union in 1990.
Okay.
So we're talking about Soviet Union, we're talking about communist regime, we're talking about no entrepreneurship whatsoever. Everything is owned by the government. When everything is owned by one entity, what happens is there is no competition. If there is no competition, there is no variety, right? So everything is pretty much the same. So as the result, every house you go into, everybody has the same wallpaper. Now, there might have been 5 different wallpapers. 2 of them were absolutely horrible. So now you have 3 that people picked from. So you go to people's house, it's one of those 3 wallpapers. You go to people's houses, everybody has the same TV, or maybe one of those 2-3 different options that are available. Everybody has one of 3-5 different dishes, silverware, plates, clothing, cars, like everything, right? And so on and so forth. So there really was no way to really stand out and express yourself the way you'd want to be expressed. So then I come to America, and oh my God, we're talking about 50, 60 different cheeses and sausages and options for anything and everything, right? I'm not even mentioning clothing. I'm not mentioning any kind of design objects like that. And that was really cool, really exciting. I really dug the way that Americans are able to express themselves, right? So there I go. I live my life, and obviously America is the land of plenty, and you can express yourself in any shape or form. So I actually was I ran a computer repair company, and I come to see my customer one day. He looks at me and he says, "Hey, you're a computer guy. Can you help me find a company folder?" I'm like, "Of course. How hard could that be?" It was 2002, and internet was at full swing. Just put in company folder, you find all sorts of stuff, right? It's America. So I do that, and I don't really see much going on there. That's strange. So I got my car, and I started driving, and I would go every place where it says print. And yeah, we can do folders. White folder, 2 pockets, 1 pocket. You print full color. There you go. I'm like, okay. And another place I go, it's the same story and the same story and the same story, and here I am. I ended up in a small portion of the Soviet Union, because when it comes to presentation folders, there is no variety. and you cannot truly express your brand the way, in my mind, Americans should. And of course, what is my first thought? They got to fix it. They got to do something about it. And then I caught myself thinking, well, who is they? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's me. How do I do that? I don't know. And that was the beginning of the journey, right? So prior to all of that, I actually was a web developer. And when I figured out this whole folder situation, I naturally put it online because that's what I knew. And I started marketing it online. And so the company launched. So this whole discovery happened beginning 2002. By the time I got everything put together and ready, we launched in, I think, November 2003. And yeah, the rest is history.
So let me ask you this. I mean, as you said, that time was kind of like the internet was booming, right? And everything is now becoming digital. How have things changed? Because, I mean, these kind of presentation folders, I'm assuming, is takes into account a world where people are, doing business in person, and they're using these folders to put like papers in there. Now, as you see the whole culture kind of shifting away from, paper-based business to like a digital business. And in fact, these days there's so much push of, minimizing how much paper people use and printing, don't print papers uselessly and these kind of things. I mean, how has your business and the demand of this kind of a product category changed over time? Is it like declining? Is it growing? Like, what's going on here?
So a few things. The fact that doing print is not good for trees is very misleading statement, because print industry is responsible for majority of the new tree growth in the world. As a matter of fact, and unfortunately I didn't think of this, but I don't have the numbers with me right now, but we are, I want to say 40 to 50% more trees now than we did in 1980s when the print industry started planting trees to offset the paper created, right? So using more paper and using more print is actually better for trees because the more of them get planted from that perspective. Now, from the perspective of usage and going digital, that's a very interesting point. So let's play a scenario here, right? I'm selling widgets, and I come to you, let's say B2B situation, and I offer you my widgets, and you say, okay, that sounds good. Do you have some kind of information for me to go over? I'm like, absolutely. Let me send you this email with all the information, PDF file. So I send it to you. You happen to be busy, and then maybe you glanced at it, so it's not highlighted anymore, right? And then somebody walked into your office, asked you something, and the phone rang, and something else happened. You forgot about it. Chances of you finding that email again or consciously thinking are not very high. Okay. Now, the same scenario, I come in selling widgets. I bring a folder with all the pamphlets, brochures, information in it. And we have a conversation, and you're like, oh, great. Let me go over all this material. I'll talk to my team and so on and so forth. And I leave it on your desk. And I leave, somebody else comes in. They ask you something, then your phone rings, then you get busy with something else, then you check your email, right? You forget about my folder. But your desk, it's on your desk. You do see it. Now, if it gets shuffled in papers, you're going to go through those papers every couple of days anyways, because otherwise, God knows what's going to be there, right? So the physical paper for marketing purposes cannot go away. We do not have a good alternative solution for that. Also, keep this in mind. When you read digital material, right? Like email, PDF file, whatever it might be. The only sense that is invoked is your visual sense. The more senses we do engage with, the better we remember the experience, right? And the information. So when you actually look at paper, you're now talking about visual, you're talking about sensory, right? Because you're touching this. You're talking about smell, because paper has a smell. And all of a sudden, your comprehension of that improves, your memory of this improves, your experience improves. So that's the big difference there. Now, if you're talking about office paper, printing out the form that needs to be signed, yes, that is easily replaceable by digital stuff, but that's not the case. Now, as far as my business goes, except for the COVID year, we have grown every single year since inception. And the trend is this. There are definitely companies there that are trying to save money and not do the folders, right? They try to do digital, they try to do whatever. So the industry as a whole might have shrunk a little bit. But the people who do use folders, what I noticed is more and more over the years, people spend more money per folder by adding on other options that make their folders stand out. And that is exactly where we shine. In the introduction, you did mention that we offer the largest selection of options, and that was the whole point for me starting this company. Like, I really wanted to create a boutique where companies and people in those companies could really express themselves in the way that their company should be expressed. So when we talk about largest selection of options, we're talking about largest selections of papers that we carry, largest selections of standard die cuts, largest selections of print methods available, largest selections of coatings, and largest selections of foil, and so on and so forth. So, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry. Here's the very interesting fact: we ran a scenario of taking all of our options, multiplying them like within each other, right, to see how many different variations of folders we could possibly create. We ended up with it was, I think, over 10 million different variations of folders that we could create that would be unique from each other, before you even talk about what kind of design is going to be on them, strictly from the option perspective. That's awesome. I mean, that would definitely solve the problem that you had in the, growing up in the Soviet era. Yeah, that's right. So your business, I mean, it sounds like, based on the description, it's primarily B2B and maybe some B2, like direct to consumer. It's B2B. People personally don't use folders typically, and if they do, they need 3 folders for something, and they go to Office Depot. And that brings me to the next question. I guess your competitive advantage is really the selection, right? Like, because I'm sure there's a lot of other businesses, large corporations, like, as you mentioned, Office Depot and so forth, that actually do have, folders like yourself, and probably do work with a lot of businesses themselves. So, the reason a business would select your company rather than just going with the regular stationery vendor that they use is because, they're looking for, the selection, the variety of selection you have, and I believe you provide other services also, like printing and so forth. Why? Absolutely. Like, what is your competitive advantage? The competitive advantage is in selection of all the options that we carry, right? So think about it this way. If you need folders, just folders, you can go anywhere. Just like when you need a pair of pants, you can go anywhere as well. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Target, you can go TJ Maxx, it doesn't matter. Now, when you want a nice pair of pants, high quality, that will fit you better, that will be made of the kind of material that you would really like, and so on and so forth, you are going to go to tailor, right? And the tailor will measure you, and the tailor will select the material with you, and the way that those pants will fit you is going to be very different from the ones you buy at Target or Walmart, right? Now, this is the same thing. You can go to any printer, and any printer can do a folder for you. You come to us, and we could really customize that folder better than pretty much anybody out there. Now, here's another thing. Coming to us for folders, and folder, believe it or not, is the most complex printed product that's out there because of all the folds, all the glues, right? So the quality really comes into play, and where the quality of the folder makes a difference is in the way it is folded, in the way it is glued, and the way the glue actually stays glued, because I have seen many products that are folders where the glue comes undone. That is done by some of our competitors. In some cases, you see folders where the front and the back do not line up. The back is always shorter because they cannot properly do the fold, right? The score for the fold. And therefore, they are afraid that if it shifts a little bit, the back cannot go in front of the front. So they, on purpose, make the back shorter. So even if it shifts, it doesn't stick out, right? We don't do that. Ours is perfect every time. So you just really get the quality, you get the attention to detail. If it's important to your brand, that's where you go.
And I do see, like, on your website, there's, I mean, if you think about your business model, or at least the cost structure or the services that you provide, it's not just the paper or the variety of types of folders. On your website, you provide the ability to upload artwork, and so it's kind of like, there's an artwork component and printing component of this also. Can you share a little bit about what exactly is involved? Like, are you doing the printing yourself, like, or are you actually just, you have vendors that supply you the different kinds of folders that you purchase, and when you receive, the orders, you have another supplier that does the printing, and basically then you send the products to the customer. Can you share a little bit about the end-to-end process of how a customer places the order, and how do you deliver it?
Yeah, great question. So we do everything from scratch. We start with a flat sheet of paper, and then you have to print it first or foil stamp it first, right? Then you score, fold, glue, and so on and so forth. But to really describe the experience, right? I guess, let me tell you a story.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, during COVID, I think it was either a year or two ago, the phone rings. I happen to answer the phone. And this woman, Daniella, says, "Hi, I am looking for a nice folder. Can you help me?" Of course, we do this all the time. So we start talking, and Daniella, and I very, very quickly understand that Daniella is that exciting customer because she has a really good understanding of what she wants. She just really doesn't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like she knows she wants something nice. She actually explicitly said she wants the Bling on that folder. She described herself as a real estate matchmaker, and her logo was actually her shooting the arrow from the bow with a little house at the end of the arrow.
Mm.
And we had these conversations with her back and forth, and trying to understand what it is she was looking for. And she kept on saying Bling, right? And I'm like, okay, I get the Bling. And then at some point during the conversation, it hit me, and I said, Daniella, it sounds like you're looking for Louis Vuitton of folders. She says, yes, that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, great, let's do that, right? So I asked her to send me the photographs of her office, of her marketing materials, and like whatever else she has. And as she sent me those photographs, I noticed her hand was in one of them. And I look at her manicure, and she has this very extravagant manicure with designs and stones, and like she had rhinestones in her nails, right? Decorated with all sorts of colors and intricate designs. And at that point, I really truly understood what she meant by Bling. So now we're talking about creating Louis Vuitton of folders with a Bling. Make sense?
Okay.
And it took us a little while of going back and forth, and we did create that. And
so who does that? So you're the main designer in that aspect, or are you working with? Do you have team members who help with that kind of a design process?
In that aspect, I was the creative director.
Okay.
And I have a team of designers that I worked with, and I work with different design based on what needs to be designed, right? Because we have a designer that's really good at creating animation or some kind of cartoon kind of characters, right? Then we have a different designer that's really good at more like a business, like very strict business design, and then somebody else is really good at image editing. So, and so on and so forth. So I have, because it's my team, right? I know exactly who to engage for whatever we're doing.
Okay.
So as actually, if you are interested, I don't know if we can do this, but I have a link to that folder I just described for Daniella Jones. Would you like to see that?
Sure, send me the link.
Here, I'll put it in the chat. If I can share a screen, or you can share a screen, we can click on it so that people who are watching the podcast can also view that. And you will, the moment you look at it, you will truly understand where Louis Vuitton came from, or where Louis Vuitton part of it is, and where the Bling part of it is. And at the same time, you'll see how very professional and very well put together this folder is.
Yeah, please feel free to share your screen.
Oh, okay. Share screen. It says that it's disabled.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if we can do that because let me see. Because it's recording, and I'm not sure how that's going to affect the video.
Or
but it's okay. I can put it at a later, like during the editing. I can
yeah, sounds good.
There, yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that's how the process goes. That's basically the experience, right? And of course, that's your one extreme. And another extreme would be somebody calling, hey, I just need a blank presentation folder on green paper. We get that as well.
Okay, and but in terms of like, so you said that you're the one who's doing, you're working with the customer to do the, let's say, paper selection, to do the design. Are you also, do you print these folders yourself, or are you working with a partner?
Yeah, as I mentioned,
I'm just trying to understand like the cost structure for your business.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we start with a blank sheet of paper and build it on from there. It goes through printing first, or foil stamping, and then die cutting, and scoring, folding, gluing, packaging, all of that. And of course, printing process could be very involved because of if we're looking at combined print methods, if we're looking at different coatings that are applied later, right, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like a big operation. I mean, do you have like a printing house?
Yeah, it's here in Michigan.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, I mean, that brings me to my next question. So, when you started, I'm assuming, because creating a printer and everything, it would require a significant cost investment. When you started out, like, did you start out with a different model, like not having your own printer, like getting help from other?
Yes, and grew from there. I started out with credit cards.
Okay, can you share a little bit about that?
You slowly build up, right?
So can you share that? Because I think any business would be interested in learning this. Is where did you start? What were your first products? How did you get your first customers? I mean, to start any business, you have to know that, of course, you had a vision for this, that you wanted to, because you were coming from Soviet and you wanted to give people choice. So you had this idea for a business, but of course, you have to validate this idea to know that, of course, there are customers who are going to buy this. Can you share those first days in your business where you went through that validation process? Maybe, you called on some customers and shared this idea. And how did you get your first customer, and how did you grow your business over time? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I did not call anybody.
Okay.
I like the idea, and I figured out how to help my customer get a folder. And then they actually happened to share that with another company that I knew those people as well, and they came to me to do their folder. And when the second customer came, I'm like, well, maybe there really is something there, right? So
and these were business customers.
Yes, only business.
Okay.
So because the very first guy referred to this as company folders, without knowing any better, I just registered companyfolders.com. And I figured I'll build a website. And because I could do it myself, a lot of it, right? And actually at the time, I had this guy who was helping me pretty inexpensively. So he built like the base of the website, and then I started playing with it myself, just kind of constant improvements. And then I started marketing it, and we're talking about 2003, and where you had forums, you had discussion platforms, and so on and so forth, right? So I just started participating in those conversations and offering all these different options, and just to see the reaction, and then slowly but surely, little by little, it started catching on. And obviously, the more interest, the more I sell, the more I make, and all the money would go back into the business to add on this, add on that, and so on and so forth.
And were you working, like, did you have a job at that same time also while you were building this? Or
no, I was still repairing computers.
Okay. So that was your main thing. Okay.
That was my business back then. So it was repair computers, do folders, repair computers, do folders, repair computers, do folders, and then I started dropping the whole computer thing because it was not as interesting. and the folders started to take over, and that's where I really wanted to go, because I also felt like there's a purpose there.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point, because for entrepreneurs to know is that a lot of the times these businesses, like, if you have two options, one option is to, you have an idea, you quit your job and you go 100% into starting a business. I mean, that's one option. And then there's the other option where these days it's like, what's called a side hustle, where you kind of keep your day job, or you have a main thing that you do, and you're starting to do something smaller, and based on the demand that you see at a certain point, as you said, you started seeing your revenue going up for this business. You basically decide at a certain point, do you want to go 100% or not? Do you have any advice on this, like one way or the other? I mean, my general suggestion is to not, like, especially these days when you can start a business very cost effectively, to keep your day job or do whatever you're doing, main thing, and slowly grow your side hustle to the point where at a certain point you can make that decision, rather than going 100%, because I think that's a more risky prospect. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Think about it this way. If you get in a fight and you are backed into the corner, you will fight very differently than if you were in the open field and you could run away. Make sense?
Yeah.
Same exact thing happens here. If you quit your job to fully concentrate on your business, you will do different things than if you were to do it as a side hustle. Because the side hustle is not important, and very few people have discipline to truly do it professionally as a side hustle. Right? It's usually like, yeah, well, I sold, I didn't sell, I lost $500, I bought this inventory, never sold it. It doesn't matter, right? It's not significant. But when it's the only thing you have going on, you will not stop until it's all gone. And then you're going to buy more. And that's the difference, in my opinion.
I think there's definitely some truth to it, but I think it may also depend from entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Like if a person is really fed up with their job and they want to get out of it, and then they are looking for that freedom, I think they'll still be motivated and putting, I just think at a certain point, like it may also depend on, like, what stage a person is in their life, and what are the commitments and things like that. Like, so if somebody has a family and they have to feed them, I think it'll be a much bigger risk for them to take. But I think that may also drive them. I think that may also drive them to really, really spend that extra time and do everything they can to grow their side hustle.
I agree. I started the business before the family. I cornered myself in a situation where I did not have an option B. This was the only thing I had, and I had to make it work. That was it.
Okay.
If I had an option B, neither of the options would ever work, because I wouldn't be as, like every time you have a escape.
Yeah.
Somebody with my personality would escape as opposed to.
Okay. Yeah, I think it really depends on what is driving someone, right? If somebody really wants to get out of the corporate world, I think they'll put they'll stay up until like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning.
But then remember, majority of businesses die in the first year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like the businesses who actually make it to 10 or 20 year mark we're talking about a fraction.
It's not
fraction
easy.
of the ones that start. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, when you do it as a side hustle, you're not taking the risk as much, right? Like there are different things that play into it. But personality does make a lot of difference as well.
Definitely. I think, not everybody should start a business, because not everybody is made out to build. Yes. It's a long and difficult road for sure.
I
So,
absolutely agree with that.
so you mentioned that your business, you created that website, and it was mostly you did most of the prospecting or word of mouth online. It wasn't really you picking up the phone, calling different businesses and pitching your product. Was that really the case? So most of your business eventually
For the
grew
folders, yeah.
organically.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, do you do any of that phone sales now, or is it still completely online? Like, do you think that can help your business?
All inbound.
All inbound. Okay. Why? So, do you think if you have, like, let's say, a salesperson in your business who can make cold calls and pitch your product, do you think that could be an additional source of revenue that could
Absolutely.
be? But
Absolutely.
why haven't you pursued that?
Just not there yet.
Okay.
We have so there are few things, right? A lot of companies do a lot of things in a mediocre way, right? And it works for a lot of companies. At company folders, we only do few things. But what we do, there is no comparison. Nobody does it better. Nobody has a better website in this specific niche. Because the complexity of the product, the complexity of production, and the complexity of all the options, there is no out-of-the-box software that can actually handle that. So everything has to be custom written. Okay. When it comes to online marketing, we don't do all of it. We only do aspects, right? But nobody does that better. When it comes to having a print blog, nobody has a better print blog. So we only do a few things, but everything that we do is top notch. So for me to have a salesperson, well, actually, honestly, I have tried that before, and it didn't work out. And of course, it's always easy to say that the person wasn't good, whatever. But at the end of the day, we weren't fully ready to take on a salesperson. And we're not quite there yet. We will be one day.
Okay.
But so when we actually do it, it's going to be top notch.
Okay. So your value proposition is really the customization and the one-to-one working with the customer to understanding their needs and really delivering on that. And on that that's what. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I know on your website you have also added, I'm assuming over time, because you have created the infrastructure for it, you have added other products also, like card holders, report covers, binders, packaging, and so forth.
Yes, everything that kind of follows the same kind of production, it falls into it.
Okay. Now, in terms of, if we can talk a little bit about, so you don't have a sales channel, like you don't have a storefront, like you don't deal with customers.
Website only.
Yeah, website only. Okay. In terms of marketing and really driving the customer acquisition, I'm assuming because it's a B2B business, a lot of your business comes from repeat, that annual cycle of businesses when they start ordering their inventory, like the supplies and so forth. But in terms of new customer acquisition, what are some of the things that you do that really drives that new customer acquisition for you?
Yeah, we have a pretty good social media marketing.
Okay.
We do all sorts of online marketing out there, so people find us that way. A lot of referral, like companies pass us around to each other quite a bit, right? So, for example, we have certain folders that are used by travel agents, right? So we do a job for a travel agent, and then the next thing you know, they shared our product with a link to the website in some kind of text group on Facebook or in WhatsApp or whatever they use, right? And all of a sudden we have another 10 travel agents asking us for the same thing, right? We did the job for, I think, US Army folders that they used to go to some kind of a trade show or conference for governmental entities. And after that show, we got like another 7 jobs from the Marine Corps, right? From the Navy, from some other government organizations. So there's a lot of that going on as well.
Okay.
We also work a lot with resellers. We offer resellers discount so that they can actually sell the folders for the regular price, but they also make money, right? So they bring us a lot of work that over and over for different customers.
Do you have any sort of a referral program where, you know, as you said, a lot of business is referral driven, where you know, if a business refers another customer, they get some sort of a...
I don't want you to refer business to me because you're gonna get something back. I want you to refer business to me because you enjoyed working with us and you want somebody else to enjoy that also. And for regular customers who are not resellers, right? Like that would not be the source of income anyways. Like they, you know, chances are you wouldn't refer anybody to me just because you can make extra, you know, $50 or $100. But you will refer people if you think that will treat them good based on your experience.
Okay. Just a quick question on your website. Can you share, like, is this, because your website definitely has a lot of functionality in terms of uploading artwork and doing all sorts of customization work. Can you share a little bit about, you know, what platform your website is built on? Has it been the same platform all along, or has it evolved over time? In terms of the e-commerce functionality itself, you know, you accept payments through the website, and are there any challenges, or I mean, your website looks pretty good, to be honest, but are there any technical things that kind of, you know, what role does technology play in your business?
Technology is pretty important. The website that's out there now is actually older website.
Okay.
We are working on the new version right now. As far as the platform, it's all PHP based. And the new version should be coming out towards the end of this year. And it's going to be times and times more robust than what's out there now. And that's considering that the current website is the best there is in the niche right now. So the next version of our website will really blow everybody out of the water. I'm very excited about that. And yes, it is very important that the website is capable of managing all the complexity of the product, that the website is capable of really delivering the message of our value proposition, what makes us different. And that's really the bottom line. And the user experience is very important as well.
I think your website is actually the user experience seems really good to me.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money on user experience design.
So you do have do you have in-house people for this, or are you working like with the vendor?
Yes, okay. It's all in-house.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so to that point, can you share a little bit about your team? How many people work with you, and, you know, what are the different roles that you have in your team?
Yeah, we have obviously people who take care of customers. They're print project managers. We have developers, we have designers, we have project managers, we have product owners, we have marketers, you know, obviously production and all of that, for sure. It's a whole gamut of things, and things change, right? Sometimes you have a person doing this and today, but tomorrow it's more important to do something else. So
and
we're also trying to stay very agile, very nimble, being able to switch when needed.
Is it a distributed team? Like, is it all remote? Is everybody is from the US, or like do you have people from other places also?
We have people in Ukraine,
Okay.
which
They're
is
still working?
they're still working. I
Okay.
helped. So I was able to get majority of them out. So now they're just dispersed between Switzerland, Germany, Poland, Bulgaria, Armenia, and we still have few people in Ukraine as well. They couldn't get out, yeah, but everybody else is here in Detroit.
Okay, cool. Now, in every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures, and so forth. The whole process of building the business. You've been running your business for what, 20 years or so now. What has been like a big failure or a big mistake or a big lesson learned that that sticks out for you, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your failure or experience?
Yeah, I never made any mistakes. No, that's not true. We make mistakes daily.
Yeah.
But probably the biggest mistake was back in the day, relied on. So I came across this company or this group of people who were doing SEO. And of course, I didn't know much about it at the time, and it was very inexpensive. So I figured, sure, it was a team out of Russia. And they did a phenomenal job, and they got me to the top of Google, and it was great until it wasn't. And then in 2012, we got Google's penalty. I think it was March 23, 2012. Yes. And we lost 76% of our traffic.
Yeah.
Overnight. And
I remember all those early SEO black hat tactics.
Yep. And bankruptcy was at the time probably more real than anything else. So that was definitely big failure of putting all the eggs in one basket, and the basket had a lot of holes that I guess we could say I didn't know about, but at the same time, probably I chose not to know about, right? In some shape or form. And that was a good lesson learned. Another lesson was in the beginning, seeing people work was important. Like, just walk around making sure that everybody's doing what I think they're supposed to be doing, which is kind of micromanaging people. And the productivity was never as good as it is now, when delivering results is way more important than making sure that I see you working. Because if you want to find something wrong, you will always find something wrong, right? Because you're looking for it. But of course, if you want to find something right, you will also find it if you're looking for it also. So I just over years learned to actually look for something right as opposed to something wrong.
I think the work culture has changed now, where it's no longer a 9-to-5 thing. It's now a project-based work system where you assign people projects and things to do and deadlines and timelines, and basically they can do the work anytime they want. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be there, looking over their shoulders on, whether they're on the computer, they're, those kind of things. As long as the work gets done to a good quality, I think that's what that matters now.
That's exactly correct, Sushant. Exactly correct.
So now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them in a few words or a few sentences, or one sentence. The first one is a book recommendation for entrepreneurs, and why?
My all-time favorite is The Diamond Cutter.
Okay.
So it's about this white guy out of Utah who goes to Nepal and achieves the highest level of entitlement that a white person ever achieved. And then he comes back to New York and he builds a diamond cutting business from nothing to, I think, either 100 or 250 million dollars, strictly by applying Buddhist principles.
Mm.
And through that book, you actually learn how to not only control yourself better, but also control your environment by changing yourself. Phenomenal book. So yeah, I would go with that.
Okay, sounds very interesting. I'm going to check it out. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
You mean how we innovate the product?
No. Another innovative product or idea in e-commerce, retail, or technology that you feel excited about. Not your own product. Something else that you're excited about.
I would say it's definitely something related to AI nowadays, and using artificial intelligence in e-commerce.
Definitely,
I'm not fully sure how yet.
The change is coming. Change is coming.
Yes.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
There definitely are a few, but the one I use all the time is Evernote, because I can structure my to-dos, I can structure my notes, I have reference to anything and everything. The space is huge, and most importantly, it syncs with my phone, my iPad, my computer, and I always have it with me. So I rely on that. Like, I would be dead without my Evernote.
I use Evernote also. A startup or business in e-commerce, retail, or tech that you think is currently doing great things. Another business.
I mean, like, going back to AI, it's definitely ChatGPT. It's it's in a very startup stage, though. It's so huge now that it might not be treated as startup, but it definitely is. And I think it's definitely revolutionary.
Yeah, it's beyond revolutionary. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you. Who is an inspiration for you?
You know, it might sound weird, but it's probably my mom, even though she's not an entrepreneur. But there are certain nuggets of wisdom she gave me over the years, and I applied them in my business. One of them is, growing up, when I wanted something that was of poor quality, or just a cheap product, she would always say, we're not rich enough to buy cheap things. And I took it to heart. Like, I'm not good enough to provide you with a bad quality folder. See what I mean?
A little bit counterintuitive, I think.
So we're not big enough to treat a customer like they don't matter.
Okay, makes sense.
So we have to make sure that every single customer gets treated as best we could.
Yeah.
When I purchase things for the company, like anything we purchase, like always follows that. Like, we wouldn't buy anything cheap that would be short term. Like, it's always tough.
I think that's true for all size businesses. Like the day a business thinks they're big enough to treat their customers poorly, I think that's the day their business starts declining. Final question: best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
Just do. The biggest thing is, a lot of times people think too much.
Mhm.
How, why, what? Just start doing stuff, because whatever you start with is most likely not going to be what you will end up with, but you can't pivot unless you start with something.
Very important lesson. Yeah, I hear that advice many times for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Well, Vladimir, those were all the questions that I had. I know we're a little bit over time, but I want to thank you so much for your time today, for sharing your story, for sharing about your business, how you got started, and all the strategies and tactics that you have used to grow your business. If anybody watching this interview wants to look into your business, what's the best way they can do that?
www.companyfolders.com is our website. And they can reach out to me directly at Vladimir@companyfolders.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Vladimir. Really appreciate your time today. And thank you so much again for joining me at Trep Talks.
Thank you for having me on, Sushant.